0311 hours. The Strait of Hormuz is black and still. 23 nautical miles northwest of Bandar Abbas, the IRGC patrol frigate IRIS Alvand is running at combat speed, her radar sweeping, her crew at action stations. She is the tip of a 3-ship Iranian formation that has been shadowing the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group for 11 hours. Her captain believes his presence is a deterrent. He believes the Americans are watching. He believes he has time. He has 4 seconds. At 0311 and 41 seconds, a Mark 48 ADCAP torpedo moving at 55 knots covers the last 200 meters of its run in under 4 seconds. The Alvand never detected the Virginia-class submarine that fired it, never detected the torpedo in its terminal phase. The first indication her crew has that something is wrong is the detonation of 650 pounds of PBX N-103 explosive directly beneath her keel. The keel blast does not punch a hole in the ship. It breaks her back. The Alvand folds at the midpoint, bow and stern rising simultaneously as the center section collapses downward into the explosion. 1,500 tons of Iranian warship, in service since 1971, survivor of the tanker wars of the 1980s, disappears beneath the surface of the Strait of Hormuz in 22 seconds. 12 nautical miles north, her 2 escort vessels register the explosion on their hull sensors. By the time their captains reach their bridges, the network has already moved on. To understand what happened in the Strait of Hormuz on this night, you cannot start with the weapons. You have to start with why. 6 weeks earlier, a facility in northeastern Syria, an IRGC-supplied Shahed-136 drone manufactured in a factory outside Isfahan crossed 140 kilometers of open desert on a pre-programmed GPS route and detonated against the wall of a U.S. forward operating base during a shift change. 4 Americans were killed. Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb, 28, from Huntsville, Alabama, a signals intelligence specialist on his 3rd deployment. Corporal Danielle Reyes, 23, from El Paso, Texas, 8 months into her first overseas assignment. Sergeant First Class James O'Coffer, 41, from Columbus, Ohio, 19 years of service, 4 children, scheduled to retire in 7 months. And Private First Class Tyler Marsh, 19, from Bozeman, Montana, 19 years old. He had been in the Army for 11 months. Tyler Marsh had not yet learned to drink legally. He was killed by a drone that cost $20,000 to build, fired by a proxy force funded by a regime that spent the next 48 hours denying any connection to the attack. The response that followed was not designed to send a message. Messages had been sent, for years, through proportional strikes, through targeted sanctions, through diplomatic channels, through back channels, through every mechanism that modern statecraft provides for communicating red lines to adversaries who have decided that red lines are negotiable. Operation Resolute Anvil was not a message. It was a termination. 0312 hours. The network is already running. 500 miles above the Strait of Hormuz, a KH-11 Block 4 reconnaissance satellite completes its thermal imaging sweep of the Iranian coastline between Bandar Abbas and Jask. Its sensors are not cameras in conventional sense. They are data collectors operating across multiple electromagnetic spectra simultaneously. Visible light, infrared, radar frequency emissions. In 0.6 seconds, the satellite identifies 7 heat signatures consistent with active military vehicle engines at a hardened facility near Jask, cross-references them against stored signature databases, classifies them as Fateh 110 short-range ballistic missile launchers, assigns each one a fire control quality coordinate accurate to within 1.2 meters. That data packet, encrypted and compressed, travels from the satellite to a ground relay station in less than a second. From the ground relay, it bounces to the E-2D Hawkeye orbiting at 25,000 feet, 180 miles southwest of the Iranian coast. The Hawkeye operator does not make a radio call. He clicks a target icon on a touchscreen. The integrated kill chain takes over. 0314 hours. Jask Coastal Facility. The IRGC missile crews have been at their launchers for 3 hours. They know the Americans have assets in the region. They know the strike group is close, but their doctrine is clear. Fire and displace in under 5 minutes. The mobile launchers exist specifically to deny the Americans a static target. Move, fire, move again. The Americans cannot hit what they cannot find. The Americans cannot find what is already gone. Tonight, the Doctrine fails for a reason the IRGC has not fully accounted for. The network found them before they opened their hangar doors. At 0314 and 41 seconds, a 4 HIMARS precision strike missile lifts from a classified position in the region. The PRSM is not a rocket in conventional sense. It does not arc through the atmosphere like a ballistic missile. It climbs steeply, reaches the edge of the atmosphere, and then dives. At terminal phase, it is moving at Mach 5.1, 3,900 miles per hour, 1 mile in 0.9 seconds. At that velocity, the air around the missile does not compress, it ionizes. A white sheath of superheated plasma surrounds the warhead in the final seconds of flight. The IRGC S-300 air defense battery covering the Jask facility has a radar computer optimized for threats moving at up to Mach 3.5. Threats moving at Mach 5.1 do not trigger the threat classification algorithm. They do not register as missiles, they register as anomalous radar returns that the system flags for human review. Human review takes 6 seconds. The PRSM takes 0.9 seconds to cover the final mile. The first launcher is struck at 0315 and 18 seconds. The kinetic energy of a 180-kilogram warhead moving at Mach 5.1 is equivalent to the detonation of 800 kilograms of TNT before the onboard explosive initiates. The launcher does not burn, it converts. Steel and fuel and missile components transition from solid to superheated vapor and fragmented shrapnel in under 40 milliseconds. The secondary explosion from the Fateh 110 fuel ignites the adjacent launcher, which ignites the next. All 7 launchers are struck within 90 seconds. The last PRSM impacts at 0316 and 47 seconds. The Jask facility, which Iranian state television had filmed 3 months earlier as evidence of the regime's deterrent capability, is a cratered wasteland. No American pilots were in the threat envelope. No special forces were on the ground. No American asset came within 200 miles of the target. 0317 hours. IRGC Regional Headquarters, Bandar Abbas. The duty officer is staring at a communications board that has gone from active to silent in under 6 minutes. The Alvand is not responding. The Jask facility is not responding. 2 of the 3 formation ships are reporting the Alvand's lost position and requesting orders. The general picks up his phone. What he is told in the next 90 seconds constitutes the moment at which Iranian military planning for this engagement transitions from offensive doctrine to damage limitation. He authorizes the final option. 0319 hours. From 6 separate launch sites along the Iranian coastline, a saturation salvo begins. 41 Shahed 136 loitering munitions, 62 Quds-1 cruise missiles, 19 Imad ballistic missiles, 122 separate weapons in the air simultaneously aimed at the USS Abraham Lincoln and her escorts. The Iranians have studied American naval doctrine. They know that the Aegis system can engage a theoretically unlimited number of targets, but is constrained by the number of interceptors carried per ship. They have done the math. If they fire enough, some get through. Their math is correct in theory. Their math does not account for the EA-18G Growler. At 0319 and 30 seconds, the Growler activates its ALQ-99 jamming suite from its orbit at 28,000 feet. The jamming is not broadcast spectrum noise. It is targeted. The Growler has been monitoring Iranian drone and cruise missile communication frequencies for 4 hours. It knows the specific GPS signal bands the Shahed 136 uses for navigation. It knows the data link frequencies the Quds-1 uses for mid-course updates. It floods them with ghost data. Not noise, ghost data. Synthetic GPS signals, false position information fed directly into the navigation systems of 41 drones simultaneously. The drones do not lose signal, they receive perfect signal. They just receive the wrong signal. Within 90 seconds, 19 of the 41 Shaheds have turned around. Their navigation systems are guiding them back toward Iran with complete confidence. 11 more enter holding patterns over open ocean, circling a GPS coordinate that does not correspond to any target. The remaining 11 continue toward the strike group on inertial guidance, their GPS navigation overridden by onboard backup systems. 11 drones against the USS Leyte Gulf. The Leyte Gulf does not use its SM-2 inventory on the inbound Shaheds.
The math does not support it. An SM-2 interceptor costs $2.1 million. A Shahed 136 costs between $20,000 and $50,000. Shooting 11 Shaheds with SM-2s costs more than the Shaheds cost to build. That is not warfare, that is a subsidy to the Iranian defense industry. Instead, the Leyte Gulf activates its Mark 110 57mm rapid-fire cannon and its CIWIS phalanx. The Mark 110 fires 220 programmable rounds per minute. Each round is set to proximity detonate at the calculated intercept point, releasing a cone of tungsten pellets directly in the drone's flight path. The phalanx handles the close-in threats with 4,500 rounds per minute of 20mm tungsten. In the Leyte Gulf's Combat Information Center, the tactical action officer watches the Aegis display. The atmosphere is not tense, it is clinical. Drone 1, down. Drone 2, down. Drone 3, down. By Drone 7, the CIC team has begun rotating personnel for breaks. The threat is real, the outcome is not in question. 11 drones, 0 impacts. The 19 Imad ballistic whistles are handled by the SM-3 batteries on the Arleigh-Burke destroyers. The SM-3 Block 2A intercepts ballistic missiles in the exo-atmospheric phase, above the atmosphere where there is no air resistance and no ability for the missile to maneuver. 7 Imads are destroyed on the ascent. 12 are destroyed in mid-course. None reach terminal phase. The 62 Quds-1 cruise missiles, their data links jammed, their GPS navigation feeding false coordinates, scatter across 400 miles of open ocean. 41 impact the water without finding a target. 14 are intercepted by ESSM batteries. 7 are destroyed by F-35C aircraft on combat air patrol. 122 weapons launched. 0 impacts on American assets. 0331 hours, 20 minutes after the Alvand sank. The tactical picture in the strike group's Combat Direction Center shows an Iranian military that has exhausted its primary strike options. The frigate is gone. The missile launchers are gone. The drone carrier, struck by LRASM at 0318 in a separate strike package targeting the IRNS Shahid Bagheri 40 miles northeast of the formation, is a burning wreck listing 30 degrees to port. Iran's asymmetric naval strategy, built over 20 years and funded with tens of billions of dollars diverted from an economy under sanctions, was designed for exactly this scenario. Swarm the Americans, overwhelm their defenses with volume, make the cost of presence in the Gulf prohibitive. The total cost of munitions expended by U.S. forces during Operation Resolute Anvil is later calculated at approximately $47 million. The replacement value of Iranian assets destroyed is estimated at $800 million. 20 years of procurement, irreplaceable in the short term under sanctions. The ratio is 17-1, but the ratio misses the most important number. American casualties, 0. In Washington, the National Security Council receives the battle damage assessment at 0455 local time. The president is briefed at 0502. The statement released at 0600 is 11 sentences long. It references the 4 Americans killed 6 weeks earlier. It states that the United States has defended its forces and interests in accordance with international law. It does not use the word victory. It does not need to. In Tehran, the Supreme National Security Council meets in emergency session. The IRGC Navy commander is present. The question being asked across the table is not how to retaliate. The Hawkeye launchers are gone, the drone carrier is gone, the frigate is gone, the drone swarm failed. The question being asked is what is left. And the answer, when it is fully assembled, is coastal patrol boats, mines, submarines of limited capability, and the knowledge that every major asset that was supposed to deter American action has been removed from the equation in 20 minutes. The Strait of Hormuz remains open. Oil tankers that had diverted course during the engagement window resumed their transits within 4 hours. The price of Brent crude, which had spiked $11 in the hours following the initial reports, closes the trading day down $3 from where it opened. The market has assessed the situation and reached its conclusion. The Guardian is still there. The deterrent is still intact. The strait is still open. To understand why 20 minutes in the Strait of Hormuz produced this outcome, you cannot look at the weapons individually. You have to look at the architecture. The kill chain that destroyed the Alvand, the Jask launchers, the drone carrier, and the saturation salvo was not separate operations. It was one operation executed by one network operating at machine speed across 5 domains simultaneously: space, air, sea, land, electromagnetic spectrum. The KH-11 satellite found the targets. The Hawkeye merged the picture. The Virginia-class sub held the undersea domain. The Growler owned the electromagnetic spectrum. The F-35s held the air without ever illuminating their own radars. The PRSM held the land strike mission from outside the threat envelope. No single platform was essential. Every platform was connected. This is the architecture that Iran spent 20 years trying to counter with asymmetric tactics. The assumption behind asymmetric doctrine is that a technologically superior opponent can be bled through volume, unpredictability, and low-cost attrition. Make every presence costly, make every engagement uncertain, force the superpower to question whether the prize is worth the price. Operation Resolute Anvil answered that question. The price of presence in the Strait of Hormuz for the United States Navy is 0 American casualties and $47 million in munitions. The price of challenging that presence for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy was everything they had. 4 Americans were killed 6 weeks before this night by a $20,000 drone made in a factory in Isfahan. Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb, Corporal Danielle Reyes, Sergeant First Class James O'Cuffer, Private First Class Tyler Marsh. Tyler Marsh was 19 years old. He had been in the Army for 11 months. He had never fired a weapon in combat. He was killed during a shift change by a drone that found him by GPS coordinates loaded into its navigation system by someone in a room far from the blast. Operation Resolute Anvil was not named after thunder or lightning or any of the traditional metaphors of military power. An anvil does not move. An anvil does not threaten. An anvil simply receives whatever is brought against it and returns force with perfect efficiency. 20 minutes. The IRGC Navy brought everything they had. The anvil did not move. So here's the question. Was the decisive factor in Operation Resolute Anvil the weapons themselves, the PRSM, the LRASM, the Mark 48 torpedo? Or was it the architecture that connected them, the satellite, the Hawkeye, the Growler, the kill chain that reduced the fog of war to 0 for American forces while turning Iran's operational picture into complete blackout? Drop your answer in the comments. The discussion in the comments on these breakdowns is genuinely some of the best military analysis available anywhere. If this gave you a clearer picture of what 21st century naval warfare actually looks like beyond the explosions, hit like. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns at this level. The weapons, the doctrine, the architecture, the decisions made in the seconds that matter. And share this with someone who still thinks wars are decided by which side has more missiles. Because Operation Resolute Anvil proved otherwise. 20 minutes, $47 million, 0 American casualties. 122 Iranian weapons launched, 0 impacts. That is not a battle. That is a proof of concept.